Welcome to the Total Soccer Show. It's our latest batch of listener questions. And on this episode, we're building a quarter of a century's worth of top European League best 11s. We're going back in time to bring back World Cup legends to play today. We're asking how set in stone a team sheet is. Much, much more. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, hello Taylor Rockwell. How is you?
I is good, Ryan, especially because that question you led off with about building the best teams could have taken a lot of time, except I went to one league first, built a team, and said, yeah, no one's beaten that. So that's pretty much what I did for this one.
Ooh, a quick researcher. We like those around these parts.
Yes, yes.
Very
Less
good.
so elsewhere, but that one, yes.
Indeed. Hi, Joe Larry. How's it going?
It's going great. Even better now that I know Taylor just did La Liga and then stopped.
Correct.
I did all the leagues, although I do have a couple of blank spaces that I don't know about because I wasn't watching soccer in the year 2000. But I am stoked for this episode. We got a lot of fun questions on here, guys. And it's the weekend. Isn't that beautiful? I've got my Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Saturday morning.
Life is good. Life is good.
Graham's watching Saturday morning cartoons. Graham Ruthven, hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this Saturday afternoon. We're definitely recording on Saturday. Also looking forward to saying something on this episode that is immediately disproven, as has become my habit over the last week. Ramsey on last week's listener questions, and then Xabi Alonso really compounded that trend on Monday by saying very clearly on that episode, Xabi Alonso is probably safe for now, and he was sacked by the time our episode had even come out on Monday. So that was great.
That sacking has been an incredible exercise in people doing passive-aggressive things via social media, like starting with Vinicius' I apologize to everyone ever associated with Real Madrid except for the manager. And then Xabi Alonso, didn't he say, like, it's been an honor and a responsibility to manage Real Madrid? Not a privilege. Like, it's been an honor and a task.
He's one step shy of chore in all of that.
Yes.
It has been a LinkedIn entry for me to manage this team. Thank you very much indeed. Before we get to our listener questions, just a note that we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. It is the best way to support us. Bonus episodes and access to our Discord server can be found there. We have a bonus listener question hitting the feed shortly after this episode publishes, in which we are putting together our hottest 11s in men's soccer. We appreciate hot regardless of gender, like the Todd from Scrubs.
Like the Todd.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I forgot about the Todd.
Don't forget about the
I
Todd.
wonder
He's
how
back,
much
Graham.
that character holds up, yeah.
I'm going to assume not well.
No.
They're gonna pivot him, right? He's gonna have to be portrayed a different way when they reboot it.
Wait, they're rebooting Scrubs? Is this genuine?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this.
But like with the original cast, I forget how they're doing it.
It is.
Zach Braff needs work, other than those T-Mobile commercials.
Yeah, we shouldn't be doing that, I think. We shouldn't. Like, we don't. Pass.
But it allows us to all forget about that final season of Scrubs where they completely changed the cast.
That I was going to say annoyed me. It did more than annoy me. It infuriated me, that final season. It was terrible.
Yeah. Hey, they're no Supermen. Don't blame them. They can't do it all by themselves.
That was also terrible.
Thank you very much.
That was actually quite good.
Nicest thing you've ever said about me. Let's get to the listener questions, shall we? Guy Y, indeed, has asked this one on the aforementioned Discord. If you had to choose one, would you play the USMNT with double number 10s with Aaronson and McKennie, or double strikers with Pulisic and Balogun? Joe is nodding sagely, smiling at this one. Is it strikers, Joe? Is it strikers?
I think so, but I have so many questions about this question. Does playing with Aaronson and McKennie as double 10s mean Christian Pulisic isn't on the field?
Yeah.
Because he's played in that role almost every game under Mauricio Pochettino? Or can I still use Christian Pulisic, just to have to use him out wide in one way or another? If Aaronson and McKennie means no Pulisic, then no deal. I'm absolutely taking the double strikers. And probably regardless of what the context is here that I lack, I don't even hate the Balogun Pulisic two strikers idea, really. So you don't even have to really sell me on that all that much, because we see Christian Pulisic doing well in a front two for Milan right now. And Balogun's played some in a front two this year as well. Pulisic's had he's been red hot for the first half of this season in Serie A, playing as half of a strike partnership. I don't see any real issue with that at the moment. My question for the group is, and Taylor, I want to hear what you and Graham think about this. I don't know that if we see a front two under Pochettino, which is doubtful to be clear, who's playing behind them in midfield? Like, I assume at that point it's got to be a 3-5-2, right? Just like Milan use, where if you're playing with front two, you're probably going to have three central midfielders. Who are those three center mids in this fictional scenario that we're building? Because that is maybe the thing that holds me back most from all this, is just not knowing who that third central midfielder is supposed to be in that shape. Like, Graham, who would you put in the midfield three behind a Pulisic Balogun front two?
Is this what I would do or what Poch would do? This is what I would do.
Either way,
right?
however you want to think about it.
So I think McKennie has to be part of that unit, right? Because you can
Yep.
have him in a slightly advanced role, but then he tucks into the three. So McKennie, I guess Tyler Adams, because I can't really envisage any US starting lineup with him not involved. And then, well, I guess the third one sort of depends on the opposition you're playing. But let's just say it's a game where the US actually want to sort of construct and have the ball. Let's say Christian Roldan as the third member of that midfield unit.
Yeah, I think that works. I don't think it's like an optimal U.S. setup in terms of talent in most of these situations, but I'm not mad at it. So I guess I'll say the front two. I'm placated by Graham's response.
Okay, very good. Graham, what is your response?
Yeah, that was my question as well. Is it an either-or situation? But I guess my answer is sort of the
All the
same
information's on the
regardless.
task, Graham, to quote Taskmaster.
Okay, I think the answer either way is still Pulisic and Balogun, because we kind of, and Joe sort of touched on this, we kind of already see this for the US. Like when they're set up out of possession, we will often see Pulisic and Balogun as like the front two against the ball. And the way that Pulisic plays, like it might not be a conventional orthodox centre forward, but he has the freedom to get forward. And I bet if you look at his touch map or his heat map, he's up there alongside Balogun anyway. So I don't think there's too much of a departure from what we've already seen. Aaronson is a bit of a, with regards to the USMNT right now, is a bit of a question mark, because I have to admit, like watching him play for Leeds right now, it has entered my mind what chances does he have of starting at the World Cup? Like, is there a point where he becomes impossible to ignore, where he is absolutely in the form of his life for Leeds right now? I didn't think we'd ever see Brenden Aaronson this effective at Premier League level, and I'm not even the biggest skeptic of Brenden Aaronson on this show, but he's been brilliant. And so I do kind of wonder what if he could start. But there's still a question mark over him. And also, I hope there's not a question mark over Weston McKennie. I suspect there won't be ultimately, but we still have to keep in mind what happened in the last few windows. So I think Pulisic and Balogun is probably the answer either way here.
Mm-hmm. Do you concur, Taylor?
I do, and some of that is informed by having watched the 2002 opener between the U.S. and Portugal, and forgetting the entire formation and approach of that one, and then remembering that it was Donovan and McBride starting up top for the U.S., I could see a similar kind of setup here, where it's Balogun sort of holding up, but also running in behind and kind of stretching the defense, and then Pulisic just buzzing all over the place and making plays and making defenders uncomfortable. I like that combination. And then when you add in the idea that it's like one or the other, I like that wrinkle as well. I think the U.S. midfield, much as I love it with Weston McKennie, I think can compensate in his absence. I think without Pulisic or Balogun, I have concerns about the attack.
Indeed. Okay. Guy White, thanks for your question. Let's go to Bobby Drexler, who has the aforementioned question about the top leagues in Europe. It goes like this. Of the top 4 leagues in Europe, who has the best 11 from the last
this question.
25
Yeah, me
years?
too.
Yeah, just talk over it while I'm saying it as well. Graham.
Sorry, that's how much I loved it.
Ryan, can you say it one more time?
Of the top 4 leagues in Europe.
I love this question.
I knew you were going to do that as well. Ryan, how did you not?
I paused for dramatic effect where it
You're
slotted in
lucky you
beautifully.
did.
Who has the best 11 from the last 25 years? Taylor,
Yes.
you've sort of teased your answer here. When you do have Ronaldo and Messi and the best of Barcelona and Real Madrid to pick from over the last quarter of a century,
Yeah.
I suppose it's those guys against the Premier League, right?
Yeah, it worked for PSG. Why not run it back here? I with that in mind, I do think if you made this the top 5 leagues, France might be in the conversation largely because of PSG. But we didn't, so I won't. But, I mean, La Liga, it really is. Like, Spain just has to be the answer, for me at least. And maybe there are compelling teams that you could put together that would cause problems. I think you could throw together some, like, slightly hipsterish teams that would be really, really fun to watch. But, I mean, just on paper, if you went with a 4-3-3 or like a 4-2-1-3, your front three would be Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar. You could have either Ronaldinho or Luka Modric pulling the strings as your 10. You could have a midfield then behind them, like a midfield base of Busquets and Iniesta. You could go Busquets and Cruz if you wanted to. A back line of Jordi Alba, Gerard Piqué, Sergio Ramos, and Dani Alves is pretty solid. And then any of the goalkeepers of Iker Casillas, Thibaut Courtois, or even Victor Valdez, I think you could throw in there too. So it's just, there's so much strength there because Spain has been so good for so long, combined with Madrid and Barcelona being Madrid and Barcelona. I think that's the squad for me.
Okay, very good. Graham?
Yeah, so I had La Liga number 1.
Did you love this question?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. You really had to get your own back there, didn't you? I apologise. La Liga's number 1 for me. I agree. I've then got Serie A number 2, and this might be nostalgia speaking, but some of the Italian teams of the mid-2000s, particularly Milan, were absolutely outstanding.
I love how much you love this question because I love how uncomfortable you are that Serie A is your number 2. You can hear it in your voice how much you're like, I don't think I should be here. I'm flying through the air right now, but here we go.
Yeah, Ricky Bobby flying through the air right now. Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable because of where Serie A is right now. But in the mid-2000s, Serie A is like potentially, in terms of the teams at the top anyway, maybe the strongest in Europe. So I'm actually going to run through some of my teams. I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible. So my Premier League team, I've got Petr Cech, I've got Ashley Cole, I've got Dumkau Walker as my right back. Keep in mind this is back to 2001, right? Last 25 years. I've got Van Dijk, I've got Rio Ferdinand, I've got late era Paul Scholes as my deep lying midfielder. I've got Steven Gerrard, I've got Kevin De Bruyne, I've got Gareth Bale, I've got Cristiano Ronaldo as a winger before he becomes a centre forward, which is what he was in the Premier League, and then I've got Thierry Henry up front. La Liga, largely similar to Taylor. I've got Courtois, I've got Marcelo, Dani Alves, Ramos, Piqué. Then I've got Xavi, Busquets and Iniesta because I just feel like I can't break up that Barcelona trio. Harsh on Luka Modric, who I love, but I'm going with those 3. Then I've got Mbappe on the left wing. Could have gone with Neymar, but I think Mbappe right now is obviously one of the best players in the world. Then I've got Messi and Ronaldo. My Serie A team is the third one. I've got Buffon, Zanetti, Maicon, Nesta and Maldini. Right, so this is where we're getting serious. Pirlo, Seedorf and Gattuso. I'm taking that entire Milan midfield of the mid-2000s. Pavel Nedved, Ballon d'Or winner, might I add. Okay. Right?
Beautiful
best player in the world for a year.
Ballon d'Or.
Kaká, also a Ballon d'Or winner. Shevchenko, also a Ballon d'Or winner around this time. Like mid-2000s Serie A was the real deal. So I've got them ahead of the Premier League, as uncomfortable as that makes me feel. Bundesliga, I'll keep this quick. Neuer, Grimaldo, controversial, but I think his numbers are pretty unreal. Like Grimaldo scored 15 goals in the last 3 seasons alone, and I couldn't think of another. Like David Alaba, I guess I could have had as my left back, but anyway, Lam, Hummels, Lucio, Ballack, Schweinsteiger, Thomas Müller is like my attacking midfielder, and then I've got Ribery and Robin, and then I've gone for Harry Kane over Lewandowski as my centre forward, but I could have had Lewandowski as well. Wow. So some pretty strong teams there, to be fair.
It was also tricky, though, like Graham, with that one in mind, because you could have Erling Haaland in there, right?
Yeah.
Because you could have Dortmund's Erling Haaland, but then, is that the prime Erling Haaland, or is that Manchester City's Erling Haaland? That's where it got a little bit tricky for me, but that's where I ended up with Spain all the same.
All right. You did love that question, Graham. Very good. Joe, what do you think?
I think nostalgia is doing a crazy number on Graham right now. I'm not to say he's even wrong. Just to say that he is so joyful in a way that I don't usually see. So I think the drug is working, Graham, and I think you should keep at it.
With regards to which one? Or
the
all
Serie
of
A,
them?
the Serie A one. Although the joy when you said Lucio in the Bayern Munich center back spot, in the Bundesliga center back spot, was just a true delight. It's like getting to see a kid open presents on Christmas morning. That's what we just got to see Graham enjoy right now, and I think that is beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Somewhere that was such a random, fine reference, but I feel like somewhere Lucio was like, did someone just say my name? What?
Lucio was really good.
He was.
Lucio was really good. The Serie A one, though, not to jump in here before Joe's said his team.
Well, they give the answer. You're good.
Okay, so it is the answer, right? But in terms of the weaknesses in the Serie A team, Maicon is maybe the only one. Everyone else is like an absolute grade A legend. In that team, Buffon, Zanetti, Nesta, Maldini, Pirlo, Seedorf, Gattuso, Nedved, Kaká, and Shevchenko taking Maicon out. That's an insane team. I stand by that.
Yes, and every player that was mentioned by any of the 3 of us is also a legend. So I don't know, maybe except Alex Grimaldo, which is a wild pick over David Alaba, but we'll let it slide. David Alaba is the only one that Graham has no nostalgic love for, apparently, whatsoever. That guy can go and sit down.
Also, Graham, I love that, to be fair, you listed all of the different Ballon d'Or winners, which is fair, but the La Liga one is 2 of this team won 45 of them. So that's why there weren't more Ballon d'Or winners than the La Liga team.
And that's why they're
Messi
one.
and Ronaldo and Messi and Ronaldo.
Premier League can suck it, though.
The Premier League team, though,
you're going to have to deal with that.
The Premier League team is really good. Let's be clear. As is the Bundesliga team. My Bundesliga team was Neuer, Lam, Hummels, Boateng, and Alaba across the back line. Schweinsteiger and Kroos as my double pivot. Robin on one side, Ribery on the other, and Kane and Lewandowski up top. That team slaps. That's a really, really, really good team. You could also have Erling Haaland in that team, which I forgot until literally just now. That's a really good team. The Premier League team is dominant as well, because, Graham, list off your 3 attackers for that team, would you?
Bale, Ronaldo, and Thierry Henry.
I had only one of those three players. I had Henry, and then I had Salah and Haaland. Like those three players are absolutely amazing players. The reality is they're still not as good as the La Liga group. That's what happens when you have Messi and those Barcelona guys in your team. That is the correct answer, but I'm not so sure which is the next best after that. I really don't know.
Mm. I would love to see like a Super Cup style 4-team knockout competition with those four teams in it. That would be terrific.
Time machine and kidnapping.
Do you think some of this, aside from time machine and kidnapping, some of this is like the relative competitiveness of the Premier League in my mind? That you have more teams that like rise and fall, kind of tear each other apart. So you have a lot of very good players who cost a lot of money. But by contrast, like the Bundesliga team is what, Bayern Munich almost entirely?
Yeah, kind of.
And like the La Liga team is Barcelona, Real Madrid, right? Like it's. I do think that is part of what makes the like La Liga team reign supreme is the appeal of those two teams and the successes they have had. But you don't have any other players in there. It'd be fascinating to do like outside of the big three teams in each league. Now, who's the best team? Maybe that is Serie A because you have it a bit more spread out.
Yeah, I think that's right, Taylor. I think also the thing that British Premier League fans don't like to admit is when you get to the top of the tree in the Premier League, there's only basically one place you can go, and that's Barcelona and Real Madrid, right? That's the very top of the tree that you can get to in world soccer, effectively. So that might lend itself to the reason La Liga is the winner.
Or Inter Miami. Give it time.
Yeah, that's a different tree, I guess. Yeah,
Much shorter, uglier one.
Bobby Drexler, thank you very much indeed for your question. We take a break. When we come back, hey Joe, you got your wish. We've got a time machine question.
Yes.
Here we go. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to our listener questions. Here's one from NT Bran on our Discord. Time travel time, here we go. FIFA announces a breakthrough in time travel technology. Can we stop there? I really hope they don't do that because they will not use it correctly. That's all I'm going to say.
It's going to be a hologram first. You can have one hologram player.
Think of all the prizes they'll hand out. FIFA announces a breakthrough in time travel technology in time for the 26 World Cup. Teams can go back in time and bring back one player in their prime to play in the World Cup. Who are the US, Scotland, and England going to bring in, or any other teams you want to include for that matter? Not that I disagree, but please justify your selection of Josh O'Brien for the US, says MT.
John O'Brien, you Philistine.
Bran.
That's surely
Josh
presuming that
O'Brien.
Taylor's going to say John O'Brien, which is legendary.
I
Absolutely.
can read
love
just
that
fine.
man.
I can read just fine, don't worry.
Josh Freeze, Josh O'Brien.
I do love John O'Brien so much. It is not my answer, though, because I think the U.S. is okay enough at midfield. It's center back and forward where we need some help. And the problem with center back, like I want to say Eddie Pope, for example, or Marcelo Balboa, I don't know how good they are in distribution. And I think in the modern game, specifically with Pochettino, the center backs have to be able to pass the ball and pass the ball really effectively and efficiently, ideally at least. And I'm not sure either one of them is truly like a huge upgrade over some of the options we do already have in that regard. And so in some ways, like maybe the answer is like prime Tim Ream. Is that the answer here? Like, but I can't go that route. So I had to either go Brian McBride or Clint Dempsey for different reasons. Clint Dempsey is just such a great player, was such a good player for the United States, but also had that dog in him, is a leader, is a motivator. And sometimes this team hasn't had that scrap in them that they need. I think that's changed more recently, but for a while there, it didn't feel like they had that energy and commitment. And he's a player that I think, like, if nothing else, you know that he's bringing that to a game and also maybe tearing up an official's rule book at the same time. But Brian McBride is probably the one that helps the U.S. the most right now. And I think could kind of bet in, even if he can't do some of the things that modern forwards are asked to do. Ultimately, he's going to get on the end of crosses. He's going to be a big physical player that's going to cause problem for defenders. He's going to be good and hold up, but is like really smooth on the ball in a way that you might not have expected. But when you go back and watch him, really good in transition, obviously very good in the box and very good on set pieces. I think Brian McBride could still come in and make a difference for this U.S. team.
Very good, very good. Joe, your thoughts?
I have an entirely different answer from Taylor, and I actually, which is to say, I don't have an answer. So I have a question for Taylor instead. Mm-hmm. Taylor, who is the best U.S. goalkeeper ever in your mind?
I thought about this too.
Tim Howard.
It's Casey Keller, Brad Friedel, or Tim Howard. I think I have to give it to Tim Howard, but that is like personal bias. But Joe, I thought the same thing because then you come back to distribution and passing because that's the thing that we want from our goalkeeper now. I don't know who's giving you that of those three. It might be Casey Keller.
The thing is, so I just want one of those three guys, I suppose, and I don't really care who it is. The thing is, I guess I disagree with the distribution thing really mattering. Like, yeah, the U.S. has to beat some minnows to go and progress, although they don't really have any minnows in their group, to be honest. Really, the games the U.S. wants to win this summer are the games against the good teams, where they're not going to ask their goalkeeper to pass the ball. They're going to ask their goalkeeper to hit the ball 40 yards upfield. So I don't think the distribution for center back or for goalkeeper is a real issue. I just happen to think goalkeeper is a bigger area of uncertainty than center back. Although I could be swayed the other direction on that. But since Taylor already talked about the center back spot, and I did have goalkeeper down on the top of my list, whichever one of those three guys that you want, that's my answer. Right?
It's
Howard. The U.S.'s strength, Howard. The U.S.'s strength heading into the 2022 World Cup was their defensive work throughout qualifying and throughout the Greg Berhalter tenure. They were a very good defensive team, especially from 2020 onwards. And Matt Turner, who was incredible, in incredible form heading into that tournament. The U.S. doesn't have that this time around. They don't have that goalkeeper that you feel immensely confident in. I think Matt Freese is a good player, and I don't have huge concerns about him starting games for the U.S. at the World Cup. But would I prefer a player like Tim Howard, who could come up with some absurd defensive moments in a knockout game against a good team? Yeah, I would. So that's my answer. Center back is a good option. Or the other thing I had on my list for the U.S. is just to make a play for whoever you think is the best player, period. And that kind of gets to the Dempsey thing. I had Donovan on my list. If you just want to elevate the ceiling of this team a little bit, I think that's totally an option as well, is to go with one of those guys. Midfield, there's lots of talented midfielders, but I agree with your assessment on John O'Brien. The U.S. just doesn't really need those more than it needs other stuff. They don't need outside backs either, so it's got to be something in the spine. I went with goalkeeper.
Watching that 2002 game again and watching John O'Brien like try to play transition passes the way he would for Ajax, and then just the U.S. midfielder like, what? I was supposed to be running like off the ball. Why would I do that?
What? Your name's John? I thought it was Josh.
Guys, Josh tried to pass the ball in transition. Classic.
I don't want to. I really don't want to be disrespectful to Casey Keller or Brad Friedel, because Friedel has so many different moments where he stands on his head in different World Cups. Keller the same. I will forever remember that Casey Keller has a pop song, or had a pop song written about him in Brazil because he did so well against Brazil in one game that a pop duo were like, this guy, we got to write a song about how strong he is. But experiencing Tim Howard versus, was it Belgium? Yeah, yep. in that World Cup, when he becomes Secretary of Defense, when he makes 9,000 saves in that game, that was next level and unreal. I love me some Timmy Howard.
Yeah, he does definitely have form for stepping up on the World Cup platform.
Yeah.
We can say that much for sure. Graham, would you like to select a Scotland player who could come back from the past to strengthen your current team? Is it your classics? Is it your Archie Gemmels? Or is it
I didn't go for Archie Gemmel. We've got Harvey Barnes coming on the plane, so we don't really need Archie Gemmel for 2026.
Sure
we do need a striker and a centre-back. I could have had Alan Hansen at centre-back, but I'm going to go for a striker. And I'm not going to go for the obvious answer. Maybe I've overthought this again. Maybe I've Alex Grimaldo'd this again. I'm going to go for Ali McCoist, because I think he is exactly the sort of striker that this Scotland team lacks. Now, the obvious answers would have been Kenny Dalglish or Dennis Law, two of the greatest strikers of their generation. But I like Ali McCoist for this team because he can play as a front two, he can drift out to the wing, he can dribble, he's much more mobile than Dalglish and certainly Dennis Law were. He was also an incredible goal scorer, Ali McCoist. Like, I think because of what he's like now as a public personality, as a pundit, people maybe forget how good Ali McCoist was. He won a European Golden Boot. Over 2 seasons in the 90s for Rangers, he scored 88 goals. And this is when Rangers were like genuinely very good. I think this was a time when they had the highest wage bill in Europe, so one of the strongest teams in Europe. And Ali McCoist was their main man. And so, I would like a prime Ali McCoist in this current Scotland team. Plus good banter as well, and that's worth at least 5 goals at a World Cup. So let's get him in.
Yeah, expected banter is very high with Ali McCoist. I'll give you that. That's good, very good. Okay, for England, I had a tough time with this. I was thinking like my favourite England player would probably of my lifetime would probably be Paul Scholes as kind of an engine in the middle, best English midfielder of my lifetime, arguably one of the top 5 of all time. I would say I'll fight you for that. So I thought about him, then I thought, we've got like a Declan Rice in the middle, probably does a serviceable job at this point. Wayne Rooney in his prime would be quite formidable, I would suggest. Even things like David Beckham would be nice, but not necessarily better than the midfield wide options that we have at the moment. I've gone for a left back, and I've gone for who I think is the best left back in English soccer history, Ashley Cole.
Cashley Cole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, that was on. I thought we had to pick one for each country, so I went for Tim Howard, by the way, for the USA.
Nice, Graham.
Left back was on my radar for England, but I thought you were going to say a centre back. See, because I think that England team right now is lacking a true sort of like top 5 central defender.
Rio.
It was my answer. Like John Terry would be the other one, of course, but
No, we wouldn't. No, we wouldn't.
yeah, as a soccer player, well, I mean, this might apply to Rio Ferdinand now, given what he is as a pundit and general nuisance. But Rio Ferdinand had it all, man. Like he was physical, he was good in the air, he was good on the ball, he was mobile, he was a threat from set pieces. He was Virgil van Dijk before Virgil van Dijk was Virgil van Dijk. So I would drop Rio Ferdinand, although Ashley Cole definitely still improves this England team as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I felt like left back was the weakest position for England at this point, so that's why I kind of went with Ashley Cole being the best at that position. So that was
acting like Luke Shaw isn't there for you, Ryan.
I suppose, is it the pirate Miles Skelly who's the top dog?
I think Nico O'Reilly, to be honest, now seems to. MLS isn't playing much for Arsenal at the moment, so O'Reilly's played the last few games certainly.
Yeah, I do like his auto parts as well. Any more nominations we want to make for these time traveling players?
Sing it, Taylor.
Auto parts.
I hope they're a sponsor.
My wife used to hear that as Automo parts, and now that's all I can hear in that song. Automo parts.
Thanks for sharing that, Taylor.
My pleasure.
Very good. There's a podcaster called or film critic called Mark Commode who famously says that he always thought when the crow flies was where the crow flies, and he didn't understand what crow was for many years.
I did look up a conversation we were having before we started recording. The most likely explanation for skin a cat is that it refers to catfish, as long as we're on random topics. Yeah.
Man, it really is a Saturday morning.
All
Different
right.
ways to skin a catfish based on the type of catfish that you have caught and the size.
Very good. All right. I tell you what, we'll reset. We'll have another quick break. When we come back, we're talking about starting 11s and your team sheets and how they can be changed, and if they can be changed for malicious reasons. And we're designing podcasts or TV shows based on our favourite soccer personalities. If you join us then, you'll hear it in your ears. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to our listener questions. This one is from Buanus. I want to say how you pronounce that word on the Discord. Thank you very much for contributing this question. Buanus. What are the rules for changing a starting 11 after it's been released? Could theoretically a manager realise he got the setup all wrong and then change his lineup before kickoff, or decide to be tricky to the other manager 5 minutes before kickoff? Or are lineups only changed due to an injury in warm-ups? Good question, this one, Graham. The most famous lineup change I can think of is the 1998 World Cup final, where Brazilian Ronaldo was not on the team sheet, then he was. So they brought him in, the biggest player in the world at that point. There were reasons and circumstances behind that. The question being, can you use this for malicious reasons? Could you do a little bait and switch 3 minutes before kickoff and say, you thought you were setting up for this, but you're setting up for this now?
Yeah, so I went looking through the IFAB, laws of the game. I think Taylor might have done the same. It's a great read, isn't it, Taylor? Like, I'd thoroughly recommend it if you're looking for some light reading. Like,
They
it's
always lose
incredible.
me a little bit at Law 4 and then Law 5. I'm just right back
in.
You know?
Yeah,
Right back in at 5B.
Yeah. 5B is good. 5B is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like inverting a pyramid. No one actually finishes it. They just say they did.
That's Law 7. No one has ever read this far. We know you're not reading anymore. It's Law 7.
I know all about Hungarian 1930s soccer. Thank you very much, Graham.
Oh, Graham. Too good.
So, as far as I can see, Taylor, please contradict me if I'm incorrect. Managers are free to make whatever changes they want right up until kickoff, as long as the referee is informed.
Okay, say more.
What did you find?
Okay.
I had it FIFA Law 3, if a starting player is unable to start due to physical reasons, injury, illness, etc., before kickoff, they may be replaced by a named substitute. The replaced player cannot take any further part in the match and counts as having been substituted. That might have been changed because that feels extra punitive. But what I read is that it basically comes down to the individual competition and the rules therein regarding lineup notification. And I believe for FIFA competitions, medical verification is required. So you can't just say somebody got hurt and can't play. There has to be a doctor who said, yep, they pulled something. They are not allowed to go. But I think those are like the official rules. And maybe, Graham, what you're speaking to is that it does seem like there's a little bit of flexibility in there because I don't know how much of an advantage you can actually gain from this.
It's very possible that I missed that part in the laws of the game or like read it incorrectly. I have to say the substitution thing, I've never seen that before, so that makes me question it a little bit. Like we obviously it's relatively common, doesn't happen all that often, but we've seen it before when there's an injured player in the warm up and they come out of the team. And I'm not aware of that ever being counted as a substitution having been made.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's an old addition or a new addition. Maybe one of the two.
That's the problem, is they also change it all the time and make it even more Byzantine, so it's difficult to know exactly what the rules are. But it does seem like, generally speaking, 90 minutes, 60 minutes, that's your window, somewhere in there. You have to notify the official of what your starting 11 will be. That's for broadcast purposes, but also I think just for like organization and structure of the game. Obviously, that is not the case at amateur level, but for professional competitions like that. And then if there is an injury, you have to notify the official and kind of make the appropriate adjustments. I am sure there are managers who've tried to game this system and find ways around, a la, I think it was Bob Bradley who tried to mess around with the forced substitute for like a goalkeeper, I think it was, when MLS put that rule in, and then he subbed in an outfield player and put them in goal, but then swapped them for the goalkeeper who he'd put in outfield. Like, I think you can find ways around this if you need to.
I love that.
Again, I just don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about, Joe, when he did that?
No, that's awesome, though.
Yeah, I think there was a rule that like you can have a forced sub if it's a goalkeeper. I forget why or whatever. It was like an injury. I think it was a goalkeeper. He switched the goalkeeper with the player he wanted to play, so put the goalkeeper in outfield, put the outfield player in goal, subbed that player out for like an outfield player who subbed in as a goalkeeper, and then switched them at a stoppage in play and put the goalkeeper back in goal. It's in the rules. So I think there are coaches that will try to find ways around this. But again, I don't know how much of an advantage it's actually going to give you, because I think watching people warm up, you might be like, oh, that guy's starting. Okay. But I'm not sure any teams are fully like, plan B, never mind. Like, I don't know if that's fully the way teams are setting up to play against each other.
Yeah, agreed. I think the advantage that you can gain from being tricky, as is asked in the question, as a manager, is zero. Because there might be some little advantage that you gain in terms of the opposition maybe slightly game planning for one thing and changing for another thing. But at the same time, you're probably also confusing either your players or your coaching staff. And if you're going to take a good player out of the team, well, that's just shooting yourself in the foot, right? So if you're taking a bad player out of the team, why did you even have the bad? I mean, it just doesn't seem like this makes sense. It's a little too galaxy-brained, or maybe I'm not being galaxy-brained enough to see the value in this. I think it's also true that you talk to coaches, and the thing that they talk about first and foremost is we want to play our game, right? Not just the Peps of the world, but pretty much any manager talks about wanting to be the best version of their team, and then focusing on the opposition and making little tweaks from there, rather than setting up their entire lineup and approach based off of the opposition. I don't think that's necessarily a sustainable way to play, nor do I think that that's really how professional teams operate. So I think this kind of flies in the face of that, where all of this would be done to confuse the opposition instead of to build your own team into the best possible entity. And I think that kind of works in opposition to how managers want to function in the first place. On the substitutions thing, because not to brag, I also spent a chunk of yesterday reading through IFAB, and clearly we all did a great job. I think, Graham, you maybe mentioned some confusion about like losing a substitution. At least in the research that I did, you don't lose you don't have to go down from 5 subs to 4 in terms of player changes that you're making to your team, but you lose one player from your bench, right? Yeah. Because the player that was on the bench is now on the field. Yeah. And the guy who was withdrawn can't play. So just, maybe I misunderstood your confusion.
Maybe I misunderstood.
Compounding confusion. Yeah. To be very clear to the listener, in this situation of a player from the starting 11 needing to be replaced, you can do that by adding a player from the bench. We do see this. It's announced. We understand that these things happen. But then you just are down one player from your match day squad because the player that had to be withdrawn from the 11 can't enter the game as a substitute. So that's what you lose. You don't lose an opportunity to make a change in game. You just lose a player for the same opportunity.
That makes much more sense. I thought what Taylor was saying was that it was counted as a substitution. Yeah. So you know how you only get like 3 breaks now in the modern game, love modern football, to make subs. You would then lose one of those
and that is
breaks.
Incorrect.
Yeah, so that's what I was unfamiliar with.
Boom.
The confusion for me lies in the way that's been described. The Ronaldo example at the World Cup is the opposite of an injured player coming out of the team, because it's a previously injured player coming into the team. So they've taken someone out who's fit.
Yeah.
I mean, that was in 1998, though, so things might have changed since then.
I mean, and also a 3-game suspension can be a 1-game suspension if it's a certain player. Maybe there's a hey, we're putting in our globally branded superstar striker, and FIFA said, yeah, okay.
Oh, Nike said okay. So the apocryphal tale goes.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much, Bornaus.
or they like Tanya Harding to player. It was like, sorry, Brazilian striker was going to start. Gonna need to break that leg. It's the only way Ronaldo can get in there.
For the good of the nation. It's for the good of the nation. We're going to lose this final, by the way, just so you know. Bornaus, thank you very much for that question submitted on our Discord. One more question, also from our Discord, for this episode from Ducktective, who says, design an hour-long TV show or podcast based on your favourite goofy soccer personalities. We're talking a highlights breakdown show with Thomas Muller and Peter Crouch, or a podcast with Weston, McKennie and Cole Palmer reviewing Stadium Scran.
Cole Palmer hosting a show, just be like, it's all right.
I think I always go to the Cole Palmer well for these kind of things, but he has to be the choice to front anything, because if he doesn't go into media after his career, I will be deadly disappointed. It'll be such a waste of talent. I want him to do a hidden camera show like Rio Ferdinand's murking thing. We'll call it Watch Out Palmer's About, and he'll just sort of prank people.
Surely it's a good name. Surely he's the new Carl Pilkington, An Idiot Abroad.
Yep.
Are they still doing that show?
Yes, dude. Good call, Graham. That I would watch of him at the pyramids. Like, so was it aliens? Was it aliens who did this? Like, yes, I would definitely watch that. 100%.
The premise of him being an idiot is factually inaccurate. He's the smartest man in the world.
I mean, so is Carl Pilkington. Carl Pilkington is also a genius who just like thinks about things in a very strange way and is very particular in the way he thinks about things. I love that show. I always felt like Ricky Gervais was like overly mean to him, which I guess is Ricky Gervais's brand, but I liked it for that reason, because there were moments when he would say things that would make like Ricky and Stephen Merchant laugh very hard at how foolish they were, and then as he kind of explained it more deeply, you would then be like, oh no, he's right, like I get what he's saying, it doesn't make sense why it's this way or why it isn't that way. So I feel like Cole Palmer could do the same thing. I like that idea. Ryan, did you ever watch the Craig Ferguson show when he hosted it?
Sure.
I like the idea of Cole Palmer as the robot sidekick that you throw to just to say kind of ridiculous things, or it is throwing to him to be like, yeah, and then you just cut back to the host and away you go. Like, you don't need a lot of Cole Palmer. A little bit of him, I think, goes a long way.
Okay, so like the Guillermo for Jimmy Kimmel kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
I like that.
We're painting him different colors. We're having him work the door. Yeah, I like that one.
Very good. All right, Cole Palmer he's so versatile. He could do any of these things. Joe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I do have a Palmer segment. I have 4 segments for my show. The Palmer thing, really, I wanted to talk Scran, because I have not been able to get out of my head, Ryan, the last time this came up, you sharing Cole Palmer's Chinese food order, which was, I believe, salt and pepper chicken, which has just really stuck with me. I haven't been able to stop thinking about salt and pepper chicken existing.
With fries, Joe.
Not with fries, with chippy chips.
Yeah,
Come
with
on.
chippy chips. With chippy chips. Heaven forbid you not have the chippy chips. That is just a true delight. And I need to get more of his opinions on things. I have another food-adjacent section that does involve Weston McKennie. It's not just food, but I need to get Weston McKennie's thoughts on all things Italian culture. Like, I think that is, if you want a way to make this big quickly, Weston's going to give you some viral social media clips, because the Italians are just going to be absolutely destroying him. And, I mean, that's good for the brand, frankly. So it's not just McKennie, though, on my second segment. It's McKennie and Chris Richards, because Chris Richards has a great personality, first of all. You might actually get some USMNT discussion out of those guys as well, which is good, because I like that stuff. And I think you don't get the full McKennie experience without somebody there, like one of his pals, to kind of pull it out of him a little bit. So I think that's going to get the most out of McKennie in segment 2. So that's going to be our USMNT and Italian culture segment. No idea.
Can we
if
call
Richards
it,
has ever
Joe,
been but
things that make me poop with Weston McKennie?
Absolutely. I can't believe I didn't think of it first. Yeah, and we're gonna get what's like the well-known ranch company? I don't know, whatever. We're gonna get some ranch sponsor for that segment.
Hidden Valley.
Hidden Valley.
Yeah, Hidden Valley. That's
you can't
the one.
see it.
Buttermilk and Sadness. That's the bit about ranch. It's Buttermilk and Sadness put together. Segment 3. Thomas Muller is actually going to talk soccer. He might make some like animal impressions, like he did in his Vancouver Whitecaps introductory presser, where he did multiple different goat impressions. I believe he did an old goat and a young goat. He may have just done one goat, but regardless, you're getting the picture here. I want to get Thomas Muller being funny and being Thomas Muller, but I also am really curious about the soccer stuff. I think he thinks about these things in a really smart way. You saw that as a player. You started to see it more as he's shared more insight into the game throughout his career. And then my 4th segment, maybe I was just thinking Vancouver. I just want Vaney Sartini to sort of have 12 minutes to himself to monologue on one form or another. That's basically what he interpreted his responsibilities as a coach to be when it came to press conferences. Let's just bottle that. Maybe without making insinuations about referees turning up in creeks, maybe we could table that bit of it, but we could have the rest of the Vanni Sartini experience when he's on break from his CPL job. I think we can get him in for segment 4, really going to bring this whole thing home, talking soccer in North America.
Great stuff. I love that. Very good. Graham, what do you think?
I kind of want the Weston and Cole Palmer Footy-Scran video podcast. I'm going to add one element to that because I feel like that show needs someone that will bring a bit of energy, someone who will call you an idiot sandwich from time to time, and bringing in Gordon Ramsay to be on that show. Of course, a former footballer, a former Rangers footballer, pals with David Beckham, so maybe we're getting him on the show at some point. I think the chemistry between the three of them would be good. If I can't have that, and I'm building my own show from scratch, I'm getting James Maddison, who's a good personality. Sky Sports love having him on all shows if possible. Ian Holloway, another good personality, and Tony Kroos, who is a little bit strange. Big Robbie Williams fan, has said some strange things, but in a fun way. And I'm getting them to do a podcast about the darts. It's never just darts, by the way. It's the darts, because they love it. All three of them are big darts fans. And despite what you said, Ryan, over the Christmas holidays, darts is great fun. The darts is great fun. And I think these guys would be great fun to listen to talking about it.
Very good. I like that. I'm gonna nominate one more. Jack Grealish doing a travel show. Mainly because I always remember that thing of Jack Grealish being shown a map of the United Kingdom and he couldn't locate either England or Manchester, I think, on it. Either way, it was
He was confused by the concept of geography.
Yeah.
as a subject, I think.
So I just imagine him putting him in like outer Mongolia and saying, "Have at it, Jack."
Yeah.
Find the nearest Nando's.
You could also have him on the Scran one, because there's a video of him having his perfect Chinese order with, who was it that did it with him? Matthias Nunes, I think, was the other player. He was very confused by the chips with the Chinese order. So get him on that as well.
Very good.
Ryan, I've got one for you. I've gone Taskmaster inspired a show called Truth or Dare, hosted by Weston McKennie with his assistant Thomas Muller. And Weston gets to ask current players, maybe former players too, but like he gets to ask them like probing questions that are kind of designed to instigate and get a response. And I think of the Italian food is trash segment from the preseason as being a good example of Weston McKennie. I think sort of baiting to, I can't remember if it's Wea who baits McKennie or the other way around, but either way, they end up kind of having a fairly candid conversation about how they don't like the variety of Italian food. And I feel like Weston McKennie could get those little nuggets out of players that would make for really interesting and revealing moments. Because it could be, what's a coach done that you didn't like, or it could be like, what's a time you were substituted and got mad. But I think forcing them to tell those kind of true little anecdotes would be great. And conversely, if they go dare instead, because they don't want to have that awkward moment, it's Thomas Muller dreaming up insane competitions that they now have to do. And that could be as little as the Taskmaster standard of throw a pea as far as you can and finding like clever ways to do that, or like do an entire scene in reverse so that it looks normal when played forward. I would love to watch Thomas Muller make footballers do that. So those two together hosting a show, I'm into it.
Yeah, Taskmaster is a solid format for one of these shows. My daughter Sophie, she watches a show called Bros in Control, and it's very Taskmaster coded. And the idea is the older brother gets the younger brother and his best mate to do tasks, and it's always stupid tasks like Taskmaster, and it's all for the older brother's approval, and then he decides who the winner is. So I'm thinking Gary Neville with Phil Neville as the younger brother, always trying to get Gary's approval, and then I don't know, Nicky Butt or some other, or Harvey Neville maybe as the other person, and that's my version of the Taskmaster show for this question.
Very good. I wonder if any soccer player could throw a pea further than Jason Mantzoukas.
Nobody can.
Did he even throw the pea? I watched that episode. He did. He threw it and then had to find it, right? Somebody did.
No, he put it. He did the clever thing of hollowing out a carrot, and then he put it inside the carrot. And then
that's right.
Because he knew, he correctly deduced that the next challenge was going to be
find the
go
pea.
recover your pea. Yes.
Excellent.
Amazing.
I love that show so much.
What a show. Soccer Taskmaster would be quite something. I'd love to see that.
Oh, yeah.
They got to do it one day, right?
Can we get Jose? We got to get Jose on it. Like, I think the problem with these sorts of questions sometimes is that we just don't have a great insight into which people in the soccer world are actually interesting or like clever or funny, because you're kind of disincentivized to be that in most instances when you're speaking to the media. I know Jose's got some juice for a show like this. I want to find more of these people, and let's really get this thing going.
Excellent. We'll make it so. Let's get it commissioned by the
Thank
Athletic by the end of the year. That's our aim for that one. Very good, Ducktective. You've honoured us with your question, as has everybody else who has submitted them. TotalSoccerShow.com/questions is where you can do so. Or you can visit our Discord server. We've got a little section of our Discord where people drop their listener questions. You can access it at patreon.com/TotalSoccerShow. But for now, Taylor Rockwell, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
I shall. Go Bills.
Go Bills indeed. Cosby, you mean, or...
I know you're a big fan of his. Never mind. I'm going to leave it there.
Let's do that.
Ryan's always told me his two celebrities he most admires are Bill Cosby and O.J. Simpson. Not sure what to make of that.
I do like Ford Broncos. That's where it ends, I'm afraid, for me. Graham Ruthven, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan Bailey.
Joe Lowry, thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks, guys.
And listener, thank you again for joining us on this one. You have yourselves a wonderful weekend. We'll be back on that feed very shortly indeed. But for now, bye.